From the lowest to the highest, from the furthest to the nearest, from the smallest of the smallest to the greatest of the greatest, yoga is about all of life, everything we do, all of existence. My name's James Bogue. Welcome to the Whole Life Yoga Podcast. Every day, the dawn brings a blessing to whatever is still growing towards the sun. Every day, the dawn brings a blessing to whatever is still growing towards the sun. This is a short poem by Rabindranath Tagore, and I first encountered it in a book called The Jewel That Is Best, a collection of some of Tagore's short writings and poems. And I think it was 2010, so it was when I was doing my Sanskrit Masters in Mysore, and I was invited to speak at a conference on the healing power of the mind in Nagpur in central India. And to travel, I flew via Mumbai, and at Mumbai airport there was a little bit of a wait, and part of that wait I spent in the airport bookshop, and the collection of Tagore's poems, The Jewel That Is Best, is one of the books that I picked up at that time. It has many, many beautiful short poems in it. But every day, the dawn brings a blessing to whatever is still growing towards the sun. This one just leapt out at me then, and it's something that has stayed with me very vividly ever since. One of the reasons, perhaps, is because it was very resonant with the practice of sūrya namaskāra, or sun salutations, or saluting the sun, that had at that time already been part of my life for about 10 years, since I started doing yogasana around the year 2000 more devotedly, let's say. Yeah, maybe it was 2001 anyway, when I started to do sūrya namaskāra quite a lot. And every day the dawn brings a blessing to whatever is still growing towards the sun. In the yoga tradition, sūrya namaskāra, or saluting the sun, is one of the very widespread common practices, and there are thousands of ways to do it. As the Rumi poem has been translated into English, there are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the ground. And kneeling and kissing the ground might be part of a sūrya namaskāra sun salutation sequence in yogasana, but there are literally thousands of ways to salute the sun. The sun, sūrya, in the yoga perspective, at least as I understand it, one of the reasons we salute it is because without it, we would not be here. So the sun is a symbol of the light of consciousness, without which we would not exist. It is a symbol of that in which we exist, of which we are part, and without which we would not be able to have any experience at all. And from a certain perspective, we can consider it a symbol, a representation of that which is beyond representation, the source of all of this differentiated wonder, which itself is beyond all differentiation and beyond all quality. But symbolically, if we want to represent that which is beyond representation, then the sun is a pretty fantastic representation, because the sun is verily our greatest friend. One of the names for the sun is Mitra, the friend. And the sun is our wonderful friend. As earthlings, how blessed we are to live on this beautiful planet, on this beautiful earth, where the rays of the sun warm us just enough to be able to experience this extraordinary, beautiful existence as an earthling. Now, as an earthling, we experience the pairs of opposites. We experience night and day, cold and hot, up and down, expansion, contraction. And I'll be speaking more about pairs of opposites in an upcoming episode. Yoga is all about working with, harmonizing, balancing, integrating these seeming pairs of opposites so they can actually draw forth each other's deep, innate, complementary potential. But when we're here on the earth, we are sun worshippers, whether we acknowledge it, own it, recognize it or not. If we weren't sun worshippers, we wouldn't be here at all. And it's quite striking that in many spiritual and religious traditions from around the world, there is a lot of iconography, a lot of language, symbolism that relates to the sun. And many of the traditions that predate those religions also worship the sun. And it makes perfect sense. Without consciousness, there's no life. So it's a good thing to hold as our highest. Now, from the Indic perspective, when we're a human being, one of our distinguishing characteristics is this gift of conscience. So we are conscious beings, we have consciousness, but not only do we have consciousness, we also have conscience. From the yogic perspective, everything in existence has consciousness to some degree. For example, a rock or a stone has a certain quality of consciousness. It has mineral consciousness. It knows how to cohere. It knows a lot about solidity. It knows a lot about durability. Plants also have consciousness. They know how to grow towards the light. They have all sorts of extraordinary intelligence. Animals also have all sorts of extraordinary intelligence and consciousness. But human consciousness is distinct, is special, you might even say, because we have this thing called conscience. And because of this, we have a certain degree of agency. And the human being has this capacity to be less than its true self. And I think the challenge for human beings is to be fully who we really are. As human beings, we have an extraordinary capacity to reconcile that which might seem impossible to reconcile. Within our physical bodily vehicle, this extraordinary chariot upon which we can navigate this extraordinary, beautiful earthly existence, we have an earthy part, a solid part. We have a watery part. We have an internal combustion engine and an internal fire that transforms, for example, food into nutrition and all sorts of other things. There's so much transformation going on within this vehicle all the time. So element of fire is present, just as is element of water, element of earth. So is element of air, and there is space within this vehicle. Now, ordinarily, if we put earth and water together, what happens? They don't cohere so easily. If I go to the sea and I scoop up a glass of seawater on the sandy beach, it might look clear, but within a few seconds I will start to notice that the sand is collecting at the bottom. So there is this separation between the earthy part and the liquidy part. Similarly, fire and water. If I put fire under the water, before very long the water might all have evaporated. And if I put water onto fire, I might extinguish it. But in this extraordinary bodily vehicle, all of the elements cohere in this extraordinary togetherness, this extraordinary homeostasis. So we have a really remarkable, miraculous capacity to reconcile things which might at first glance, and even at second and third glance, seem not so easy to reconcile and integrate. But we can do it. And I would suggest that this is the tremendous opportunity and challenge for human beings now, is to actually integrate, to actually reconcile, to overcome the obsolete tendencies of excessive divisiveness and fragmentation, and actually recognize our capacity to integrate things that at first glance might seem opposed or different. One of the things that I have noticed in human conflict is that so often the parties that become hostile to each other, most of what they truly value and truly desire has so much overlap, and we get caught on the differences, or we get caught in this false belief that if they have it, we can't have it, or if we have it, they're going to want to take it from us. And This is a misperception. This munificent planet has so much to offer us. If we only did what we are capable of, to be judicious custodians and stewards of this extraordinary realm of existence, planet Earth, there is plenty to go around for a much bigger human population than the 8 to 9 to 10 billion that might be around right now. What that requires is that we come into right relationship with our own body, with our own vehicle, as the microcosm of the whole in which we exist. So, every day the dawn brings a blessing to whatever is still growing towards the sun. Every day as a human being, we have the opportunity to grow closer towards the embodiment of the archetypal energy of the sun. The sun, as well as being our best friend because it is the giver of life, is also one of our best teachers, because the sun demonstrates how to be fully itself. It gives its gifts unapologetically, without inhibition, all around. And this is what yoga urges us to do too. Let us meet reality with equipoise. Let us shine the internal sun of the warmth, light and love that is always resident in the depths of our own heart. Let us shine that out in all directions. What happens when we meet life through senses that look out, that feel out, that reach out, that listen, through the lens of love, through the lens of that intelligence that allows life to bloom, that allows life to be warmed, to be nourished, and to keep growing? Every day the dawn brings a blessing to whatever is still growing towards the sun. One of the representations of yoga that is sometimes quite prevalent these days is the picture of a human being sitting in the yogasana known as the lotus posture, or padmasana. Now the padma, the lotus, there are many names for lotus in Sanskrit, but the padma, the lotus, one of the reasons it is so celebrated, the lotus, when the sun goes down, it closes. And many years ago I used to live in Thailand, and Thailand is a country where Buddhism is very prevalent, and many people go and take offerings to temples as part of their daily or weekly life. And if one goes to a florist's shop in Thailand, tropical Thailand, there will likely be sprays of all sorts of beautiful, vivid colours. But amidst the bright sunflowers, the roses, the lilies, and all of these other beautiful, bright flowers, in a florist shop in Thailand, one is also very likely to see lotuses that are not yet open. That is just like a bulb, and it's this almost greyish green colour. So in the florist shop, the greyish green unopened lotus is rather unprepossessing. It doesn't really catch one's eye, generally speaking. And yet many people will buy the lotuses to make an offering of them at the temple or to put them in their home, for example. But what does the lotus do when it is kissed by the sun? Then it reveals this tremendous beauty that was always resident within the heart of its being. And so the lotus is this beautiful symbol, again, of how we can move if we actually make the effort, the honest, dedicated, wholehearted effort to move in that direction. The lotus, of course, grows in the swamp. It grows in a realm of earth and water. It grows in the mud. And this is very significant. Here on the earth, it's a bit of a swamp. There's all sorts of influences pushing and pulling us in different directions, and they have imprinted on our awareness. And as they've imprinted on our awareness, they've left a residue over the different lenses of our awareness. And so we can see reality through a kind of swampy lens. We don't see things so clearly. And yet, here on the earth, the lotus, growing in the swamp, when it is kissed by the sun, when it is caressed by the air, then it can grow and open into space to reveal a beauty that is jaw-dropping and arresting, and which catches the eye of everything that might walk past it. And so this is the idea of Padmasana. Padmasana, the lotus posture, yes, of course, at one level it means sitting in a certain position with the legs crossed in, like you fold your arms, you fold your legs in like that. And this creates a very stable base. So the roots of the spine are grounded, there's a very stable foundation, and from that stable foundation, if one is meditating, for example, then it's very, relatively speaking, easy for energy to flow in a very stable, sustained, nourishing way that is conducive to more clarity of awareness, and so facilitates deep meditative practice and experience. But really, Padmasana is any posture, attitude, disposition, habit which is facilitating our movement towards the sun, towards broad spectrum, 360-degree, unimpeded awareness, beyond all the swampy veilings of our conditioned ideas. So Padmasana, at a certain level, means cultivating the seat of awareness that is conducive to the deepening experience of yoga. Every day the dawn brings a blessing to whatever is still growing towards the sun. And this is the idea. When we're a human being, we can keep growing towards the sun. But when we're a human being, we live on the earth in this somewhat swampy existence. If we don't harness our consciousness, perhaps we won't grow towards the sun. Perhaps we will ensconce ourselves in the dark. Perhaps we will get fettered to tendencies that keep us in a miasma that blocks our onward evolution. We may set ourselves up in such a way that we continue to perpetuate our own misery and delusion and get in our own way. So every day the dawn brings a blessing to whatever is still growing towards the sun. And so the yoga practitioner every day is enjoined, before the dawn, at the dawn, to give thanks. To give thanks and praise for this extraordinary gift of a birth, of life. I am alive again today. What an opportunity, what a gift. I can see, I can hear, I can experience. I have consciousness moving through me. Let me deploy it with skillfulness. This consciousness came to me as a gift. May I honor it. May I acknowledge it. May I use it in such a way that I express my gratitude for the receipt of this extraordinary gift. And this is what Sūrya namaskāra is all about. I am saluting my best friend, the sun. He's been to the other side of the world. He's been on such a long voyage. And he's come back. So imagine your very best friend, your true beloved. You've not seen that person since they've gone to the other side of the world, and now they're coming back. How are you going to be so receptive? You will be ready. You'll be waiting, as it were, with open arms, with a sense of attitude and gratitude, with a sense of anticipation and gratitude for their return. And this is the idea. In the morning, greet life with this attitude of gratitude, with this receptivity. And this is the practice of Sūrya namaskāra. Sūrya namaskāra, sun salutations, are an embodied prayer of gratitude. And gratitude is such a master key in the practice of yoga. Once we've cultivate gratitude, really feel it in our being, then what happens? That pulls us more vividly, more fully into the present, and so sets in motion this virtuous circle, this virtuous cycle of presence, receptivity, awareness, and gratitude. Where would you like to live? I would like to live in Prague, not the golden capital of Bohemia in the literal sense, though I am fond of that city. And I've been blessed to spend time there, and I have some wonderful friends there, and I hope to return there again. But in the figurative sense, I would like to live in a space of presence, receptivity, awareness, and gratitude, because when I do, wherever I am, the experience there is infused with more grace. When I feel grateful, it brings me more into the present. And when I'm more present, I receive more from life. I notice more. I can learn more. And my soul wants me to learn. It wants to learn. It wants to evolve. It wants to express its deep, untapped, innate potential. So the more receptive I am, the more there is the opportunity for that. And as I'm more receptive, my awareness expands. And as my awareness expands, I notice there's so much to be grateful for. So may I use the gifts of life with skillfulness and gratitude. And so if we do a practice of sūrya namaskāra that involves physical movements, can I do it in such a way that I'm expressing gratitude, that I'm moving with grace, with awareness, I'm cultivating balance, I'm feeling my connection to all of the elements, the support of the earth beneath me that enables, allows, supports all of my experience, the flow of the element of water and the energy that circulates and courses through me, that allows me to taste and savor the beauty of life. I feel as I move the element of fire stoked. I feel the internal combustion engine spreading its warmth throughout the field of my being. I feel that inner sun dawning, and so inviting its golden rays of inspiration to bring more life into every cell of the fiber of my being. I feel the air of life inspiring me and allowing me to expire the things that I no longer need, so I can actually move forwards in a space of greater presence, receptivity, awareness, and gratitude. Every day, the dawn brings a blessing to whatever is still growing towards the sun. If you would like to dive deeper into practical, real-life teachings of how we can cultivate this presence, receptivity, awareness, and gratitude in everyday life, using the time-tested supports of the yoga tradition, please join my mailing list. You can sign up on my website, scroll down to the bottom of the first page or many of the other pages, and then you'll hear about various online courses, offerings, and in-person gatherings where there's the opportunity to dive deeper into these teachings. Thank you for listening, and wishing you a beautiful day wherever you are.